Well, I was just reviewing the recording I did headed retirement. And it occurs to me, I used to make time. I'd walk to the station instead of catching the bus from teaching. Or I'd walk to the station from the university and spend a while possibly just round the lakes first. You would have said at times I was not a conscientious worker and that I was spending more time thinking of God. But people didn't realise that, I suppose. I aimed to work part-time. Definitely not to work more than 4 days a week if possible. Occasionally I had to work 5 days a week. When I was first a teacher I worked full-time. But teaching's nice, isn't it? You finish at 4 o'clock. You get loads of holidays. Lecturing, of course, is a bit like that too. We used to get long vacations at university. In fact, some staff would take a sabbatical year. Just take the 7th year off. Or they'd go, especially, more usually, they'd go to some other university, say in America, and people from America would come to us, spend a year with us. And that was nice. But, when I lived actually nearer, but in the country, and forgotten how I used to get home then. There weren't buses. I think it was early on when I could phone Christine up and say I'm ready to come home. Jean. And she'd come and get me in the car, because I was only about, it was probably 3 or 4 miles away. Might have been, 4 or 5, I'm not sure. And I would just choose not to phone her up. I'd walk home. It was a nice sunny day. I'd walk through, this was North Essex, you see, Essex University's Colchester. And I'd walk home through the country lanes. Virtually no traffic at all. Lovely. Just thinking of God. Wow. I was the same at university. I could be a student sitting in the library and I'd gaze out from something like that. Can't remember whether it was the 3rd floor, I think it was economics. I'd sit by the window and I'd look out. At the desk by the window, one of the desk tables. And sometimes I put my feet up on the window ledge there. It's a low concrete window ledge. Massive windows all the way along. Modern building, concrete and glass. Well, it was modern in the 60s, sorry. 60 years ago, it was modern. Not so modern now. And I'd gaze across the lakes, good or bad weather, deep in thought. Might even be about what I was supposed to be studying. But so often it wasn't. It's something to do with God. Something to do with understanding, philosophy, the meaning of life. I'd been the same, hadn't I, when I was studying A-levels, sitting in the reference library upstairs in this old Dickensian building you would think of it as now. It was old then. There's a thing it's missing now, they've probably taken it down. Plato, but I'd stop and just think. And probably think of the girl that was sitting on the desk. It was attractive enough to think of. Young men, you know. There you go. And then, you know, as a married man, well, I'd walk along the sea wall. Sea on one side, the marsh on the other. Essex, you see, Essex marshes. I'm up at Frinton-on-Sea at that point, walking towards, especially towards Clacton. Not all the way, it was probably too far, about 3 miles, perhaps more, 4, 5. But a long walk and then back again. High wall. Keep the sea from flooding the marshland there, you know. And thinking of God. Or I'd walk for hours on the Naze. The Naze was a spit of land going north towards Harwich from where I lived then in Walton on the Naze, had a house on the seafront. I'd walk up the Naze. Nice sort of a scant bush type country, very scant, and then just grass and muddy bits you had to get across, you know, if you went too far up the Naze, where the sort of marshland, it's salt marsh, of course. The salt marsh becomes more in with the sea, and you don't want to get cut off by the tides. That could be tricky, and nobody's out there, of course. Yeah. The loveliness of nature, nearness of God. There you are. You don't have to be retired. You can be ploughing on in the world and keep escaping as opportunity arises. Bless you. Bless your life. And thank you for listening to me. Lovely talking to you.